All right, so after this trade, let's kind of discuss who do you think is the favorite in the West East now. Are the Nets the favorites?
I briefly touched on it a little while back, but again, even though this move definitely leaves the Nets vulnerable. It leaves them thin. They've lost some depth and some quality depth too, not just bodies at the end of the bench that help with the rotation. I think they lost some quality depth. I definitely think that they lost some defensive capabilities here, but you just look at what they look to gain and the potential benefits and the potential fireworks show on the offensive end. I think for me, no one in the East, whether it's Joel Embiid, whether it's Giannis Antetokounmpo and his Milwaukee Bucks squad, whether it's the Boston Celtics with that young core, I just don't think that anyone, when Brooklyn is firing on all cylinders, will be able to keep pace with them. I like Brooklyn coming out of the East. As a matter of fact, I think that after this trade, Brooklyn should be the unquestioned title
Unquestioned.
favorites, even over the Lakers, unquestioned.
Wow. Okay.
Personally, I actually don't even think the Lakers will make the NBA Finals. But
Okay.
that's a discussion
That's a
for another
different
day.
conversation. Yeah. Wow. Unquestioned favorites to win the title.
Brooklyn,
That's a
Brooklyn, baby. James Harden, Kevin Durant. That's all you need to know. Kyrie Irving will come in right here and there, be the third, be the
sprinkling
third
Kyrie
wheel to
Irving a
that
little bit.
bromance.
Just put it in. That's what
Sprinkle
happens.
some Kyrie Irving. Be the
You got to season it properly. You don't season it properly, that can ruin your whole meal. So you got to be careful with that.
You got exactly. You got to add the sage in there, bro. You got to add the sage. You got to burn some sage.
Yeah.
But nah, in all seriousness, Kevin Durant, James Harden, transcendent, generational offensive talents. I look for them to be too much. I think they're going to have an easier time gelling on the court than either of them with Kyrie. And I just think they're going to be too much. They're going to be too much to handle definitely in the East. I think they can break down any defense just with those two. So, yeah, I like Brooklyn. But I have a feeling you're going to go somewhere else.
I am definitely going up somewhere else. So I'm actually feeling a bit more
Hmm.
confident about my preseason picks. I had 76ers making the Eastern Conference Finals. And at this
Hmm.
point,
Okay, the
but
Eastern Conference Finals.
how the season has played out so far, I'm actually going to pick them to go to the finals at this point. I think I, okay, you can laugh right now, but we'll see.
I'm
We'll
listening.
see.
I'm listening.
We'll
I'm
see.
listening. I'm
All
listening.
right,
I'm
all right.
listening. I'm listening.
Okay, so 76ers, number one best defensive team in the league. They have two of the best defensive players in the league. They have Joel Embiid, probably the most dominant player in the league, I would say at this point, most dominant player, not just a big man, most dominant player in the
Mm,
league, offensively and
mm,
defensively. And I think what we kind of discussed, I think a few videos back, was where I thought at that
mm,
point, if he pulled NBA, he would win the MVP award and also the Defensive Player of the Award, Defensive Player of the Year award. So I think nothing's really changed. If anything, I think this whole trade going through kind of helps the Philadelphia 76ers, especially Simmons, kind of get the heck because he's been involved in those trades all the way through. And there was a report out there saying that
mm,
he's actually relieved and how the whole trade situation's
mm.
already it's behind it in his rear view mirrors, and he can kind of focus. And I think he'll just be even better than what he's played. And Joel is going to keep up his play. Hopefully, he does. Injury is the biggest concern. So if something happens with injury to one of those stars, then of course that changes it a lot. But if everybody stays healthy on the Nets and the rest of the East, I think 76ers will come out of the East this year, and that will be a big
So he
failure
feels
for the Nets.
more confident now.
More
He feels
confident
more
into the
confident
season.
now
Mm-hmm. And
that Philadelphia
well, you're
can get
going
past Brooklyn.
well. I'm gonna say you're basing it completely on speculation. I've seen how Philadelphia has played so far this season, and rightfully so. They are the number one seed right now
Oh.
in the East.
Mm.
And then on top of that, I think the biggest factor was we saw Embiid dominating, but we didn't really see Simmons was playing all. I think to the level that he can quite get to. And I think the big reason was that he didn't really know, like, is he going to be dealt for the Harden trade because Murray's connection with Houston? And I think since that's kind of in the rearview mirror now, that kind of lets him play free and just be absolutely dominant. So they have two great dominant players. We have seen they have chemistry. They can play together. whereas a lot more question marks with the Brooklyn Nets.
Well, let me tell you why you're wrong, my friend. And I think you actually kind of started to touch on it there, but you just got your perspective a little bit off. You just got to change the focus there. The first thing you said, and I think that's actually the biggest X factor is Joel Embiid's health. I know the Nets are weak on the defensive end, especially in the interior. Like I said, I expect them to make a move, maybe pick someone out of the scrap heap, pick someone up off the street, put him on the roster. I don't think it'll be enough to contend with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid right now is showing the entire repertoire. He is opening up his game entirely on both ends of the floor. He's being dominant. He's being that franchise centerpiece that the 76ers drafted him to be. But his health will always be a question. And you touched on the new focus that Ben Simmons is going to have. You seem to be positive and you seem to believe in Ben Simmons. I actually think this will affect him negatively because now the scrutiny and the pressure are the highest they've ever been in his career, even though they've been pretty high up until this point. But now that the move wasn't made, that everyone was talking about potentially including Ben Simmons in a package for James Harden to bring him to Philadelphia, and now that, as you said, this is in the rearview mirror, Harden's joined Brooklyn, Ben Simmons is going to be in Philadelphia for the foreseeable future. I think everyone's going to be looking at Ben Simmons and his production and his contributions to the team now that he's there and that he's not going to be moved. And as we all know, Ben Simmons is a fantastic player, especially on the defensive end, but he comes with offensive limitations. And I actually think those offensive limitations will handicap the 76ers. It's going to be what's going to limit them, even though that Daryl Morey has done a superb job ever since he's got there. So even though I think Daryl Morey has done a superb job in surrounding Embiid and Simmons with shooting, with key pieces that can definitely be contributors to the team's success, I just think that with the spotlight on him, with the pressure on him, now that Philadelphia has to move forward with Ben Simmons, and now that the microscope is squarely on him, I think it's going to affect him negatively. And I think
they chose. Yeah, they chose.
I just think that exactly, and they made a conscious choice of staying with the Ben Simmons Joel Embiid partnership instead of including Simmons in a trade deal to Houston to bring James Harden in to pair him with Joel Embiid. So that's why I think the pressure is going to be even more on Ben Simmons, because exactly that. They chose to stay with him over bringing in James Harden. And because of his offensive limitations, yes, he's a great defensive player. Yes, he's a great playmaker, but his offensive limitations, I believe, will handicap the 76ers. It's going to limit their potential. They're going to have a lower ceiling with Ben Simmons running the offense. And I just don't think that he'll be able to live up to that kind of pressure and that type of expectation. He's just not that offensive player.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's it for now. Tune in for more videos and keep watching the Bill and Pablo Show.